Hey there, Janae with Palin Projects here, and in this video I wanted to talk to you guys about how I went about planning out my garden space. I'm not necessarily talking about planting it out, but just designing it and building it, and the materials that I chose to build it out with and the design that I went with. So let's take a quick walk out to the garden area. First and foremost, I kind of wanted our garden space to be a space of beauty and not just functional. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go with the raised garden bed. That plus our soil is just, it's not up to par with what we needed to garden in. So we started out with a blank pasture. We built the chicken coop, which I'm walking by right now, and then we've slowly built out what I wanted. Last year I told you guys that I wanted to give the in-ground garden another shot. One of the main reasons for that is it's easier to do an in-ground garden rather than a raised bed. Raised beds you gotta mend and make sure that your soil is all right, and it's just a little bit easier to do in-ground. So I'm gonna show you the two garden beds that we did first. So this one was built last year. It's the L-shaped that I planted strawberries in, and then I had some raspberries. I'm not sure if the raspberries. I'm not sure if the raspberries survived, and we'll see about the strawberries. I didn't get enough water to the strawberries after I transplanted them on a regular basis, so I'm not sure if they're going to survive. And then this square, I had my garlic planted last year. So those are the two raised beds I have so far. This is the area that we're looking at developing. We measured it out. I don't want to go all the way over there, but I do want to have a decent sized garden area. So this is kind of the raw land and what it looks like. I did do the in-ground garden here, and then we fenced it because of the poultry last year. So just a backed up view, you can kind of see where I walked. But the two garden beds that we had built, and then the in-ground garden, and then I think where I want the garden to come out to with the raised beds is probably about here. So all of that will be planting area. Okay, so first and foremost, we started with how much of the land we wanted to develop. We have a half acre. Our whole property is an acre, so we have a half acre over there to develop and do what we want with. This includes storage, any other projects we want to do, plus any animals that we want to have on this property. It's not a ton of space, but it's enough space that we can actually, grow some things, whether it be meat birds, pigs. I don't think we'll get into goats, but it is a possibility to have goats over there. It's just all in what we want to make of it. And also it's all in what we want to have over there. So I've talked, for about a year now about a glass greenhouse. We want to put a glass greenhouse over there. It's moved different spots within that year, and I think we have it finally set. So I think we're going to put the glass greenhouse in the middle of the garden, and that's one of the reasons why we're going to build the garden so big. That area right now is what we have developed for the in-ground garden is a 30 foot by 60 foot. So 30 width, 60 long, size of a garden. It's absolutely massive. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to be able to produce a lot of food. With going the raised garden bed avenue, it's given us the idea to put the glass greenhouse in the middle, and so we can have all of the tools, all the seed starting, everything over in that area, so that I don't have to go back and forth between two different areas. And again, I think aesthetically it'll be beautiful over there to have that beautiful glass greenhouse in the middle of our garden, in the middle of these geometrical raised garden beds. So first and foremost, figure out how big of a garden you want. Second, are you going to do raised bed or in-ground? Like I've said before, I've tried in-ground for 2 years now. I could make it work. It would require a lot of amending and years to build that soil up. I want a quicker route, but that quicker route is probably going to cost more in the long run because I'm not building up that soil. I'm going to have to, and building up that soil and making it self-sustainable, I'm going to have to add amendments to my raised garden beds year after year, which is okay. I'm fine with doing that. That's the decision that I've made. So first, size of garden. Second, are you going to do raised bed or in-ground garden? And then third, if you go down the raised bed option like I'm doing, what are you going to make your raised beds out of? Are you going to buy kits, which there are plenty of kits out there that are wonderful, or are you going to make your own? If you're going to make your own, what kind of wood or material are you going to build them out of? Are you going to use tires? Are you going to use steel? Are you going to use, wood? There's just a variety of different materials that you can use to build your raised beds. In this community, we are a logging community, so we have a lot of loggers. We have a lot of mills around our area. With mills, they have what are called like the slabs or the extras. So you have a log, and then you have to slice that log in order to make it straight. So usually we can get a bundle fairly cheap, and a bundle is what you saw on the left-hand side of the garden. I believe that's one bundle. I don't think we got two there. But one bundle is fairly cheap because it's basically just the extras that they don't use. They're just slicing the piece of wood in order to make it straight. We can get bundles like that fairly cheap, and to me that was more cost effective than going out to our wood stores or our construction stores and buying wood. If we were to have bought wood, yes, it would be easier because everything is straight and the same length, the same width, everything like that. But it probably would have costed us pre-COVID. I think I calculated it out to $1,500. Doing the excess of the cuttings, I think it's going to cost us around $500, I think, and that's with probably some extra left over. I have to go back and see if the bundles have increased in price or not. But when we first I think we've gotten 2 bundles so far. I think it would have costed us about $500 with what I wanted to do before. So that's the third thing. After you figure out if you want to do raised bed or in-ground, figure out the median or the material that you want to create your raised beds out of. Another item to think about is what are you going to put into your raised bed. There is a raised bed mix that you can get from multiple areas or multiple establishments. I choose to go with a 50-50 mix from a local dirt company here in my area. So it's 50% compost and 50% topsoil. I've found that works pretty well, and then I top dressed with compost every year. Another thing to think about is shape of your garden beds. I am a very analytical person. I enjoy math. I enjoy geometry. I wanted my flower beds to be not only functional but beautiful, and so I created geometric shapes, and I'll pop a screenshot up of kind of my idea of how I want my garden to look, and it's very geometrical, and you can weave in and out of the garden beds. Something that I did take into consideration is the width of the flower beds or the raised garden beds. I wanted them to be 3 foot across so that I could reach directly across and not have to go around the other side of them. You can definitely go bigger. My squares are actually 6 foot. But I figure that, you know, my arm span is 3 feet, so I can reach to the center of those squares. And then also my idea with the big squares is to make those more of a perennial area so that one, I don't have to reach to the center all that often, and two, I am drawing in those beneficial insects into my garden area. So that is a functional aspect that I decided to build into my garden space, just to have those, you know, functional and beautiful areas. I can have roses. Again, you know, it's still stuff that we can eat and, you know, provide for the family, but it's functional as well. So roses, herbs was a big one. I wanted to have my perennial herbs in those areas. Berries and stuff like that. I don't think I want to do like my raspberries and blackberries because I can't get to the canes as well as I could with the 3 foot beds. But you know, just different perennials that could be beneficial to you know, bringing in and eating with the family. Yes, you can eat rose petals. But so yeah, more of a perennial aspect, and that's something to consider too. Where do you want perennials? Do you want perennials in your garden space? You know, I want to bring in natural, you know, beneficial insects, so honeybees, stuff like that, in order to pollinate my garden. You know, think about that. The garden that I planted up with garlic, a little bit ago, they don't necessarily have an area where their perennials are. It's more of an annual, you know, vegetable garden area, which is completely fine. You know, they have flower beds nearby that draws in the beneficial insects as well. So that's, you know, just kind of my idea on how to plan out a new garden space and building your gardens. I'm sure there's many more ideas out there, but those are just some tips to get you started. I hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll see you in the next project. Bye.